The Greenland shark is exactly the kind of animal that belongs at the top of some kind of list, and that is where we find it. With its impressive lifespan, the Greenland shark is the longest-lived vertebrate ever recorded. Being a vertebrate, an animal with a backbone, it is actually our distant relative. We might not look much alike, but the basic anatomy is recognizable: a heart, a liver, an intestinal system, 2 kidneys, and a brain. Of course, there is still quite some distance on the evolutionary tree between us and a giant fish. Humans are mammals, and that means we have certain fundamental characteristics that we don't share with the Greenland shark. In biology, the rule of thumb is that the closer an animal is to us in evolutionary terms, the more we can learn about ourselves from studying it. That means we can learn more from fish than from insects, but also that we can learn less from fish than we can from, for instance, birds and reptiles, not to mention our closest relatives, other mammals. Oddly enough, the Greenland shark shares its home with another lifespan record holder that is a much closer relative of ours. If you're fortunate in the seas around Greenland, you might encounter the 60-foot-long bowhead whale. While the surface characteristics of a bowhead whale don't resemble ours either, its inner wiring is much closer to humans than that of the Greenland shark. Whales have large brains, even for their size, 4-chambered hearts like us, lungs, and many other common characteristics. We used to hunt these magnificent animals to use their blubber in oil lamps, but fortunately they are protected today. Only native peoples, such as the Inupiat people of Alaska, are allowed to continue hunting them, at subsistence levels, as they have always done. Occasionally, after a successful hunt, the Inupiat will visit local authorities to hand off old harpoon tips recovered from the whale's blubber. These harpoon tips stem from unsuccessful hunts in the 1800s. Together with molecular methods, they have been used to determine that bowhead whales can live more than 200 years. That's the longest lifespan recorded for a mammal. Moving away from humans on the evolutionary tree can reveal some even more impressive lifespans. The best examples come from actual trees, for whom aging doesn't really exist, at least not in the way that we typically understand it. While our own risk of dying increases as we age, trees only get larger, stronger, and hardier. That means trees have a decreased risk of dying each year they live, at least up to the point where they get so tall that they get knocked over in a storm. But dying in an accident has nothing to do with aging. This means that some trees are really old. One of the oldest single trees, Methuselah, is a 5,000-year-old bristlecone pine in a secret location somewhere in the White Mountains of California. At the time Methuselah sprouted from the soil, the pyramids were still being built in Egypt and the last mammoths roamed Wrangel Island in Siberia. Yet even Methuselah is a spring chicken compared to the wooden record holder. In the Utah Fish Lake National Forest, roughly 350 miles northeast of Methuselah, is an American aspen named Pando. Pando, Latin for I spread, is not a single tree, but a kind of superorganism, a giant network of roots filling an area around 1/8 the size of Central Park in New York. Pando is the heaviest organism on the planet and sprouts more than 40,000 individual trees. Most of these trees live between 100 and 130 years, dying off in storms, fires, and so on. But Pando continuously sprouts new trees, and the root network superorganism itself is more than 14,000 years old.